Pain was designed by a fucking psychopath who got Super Mario Bros. Confused with Super Meat Boy. If I were to explain it to someone who had no idea what Hollow Knight was, I would describe it as if you were trying to keep a balloon from touching the floor, or the ceiling, or the walls, or the furniture. While keeping the ball in the air, you also have to escort it across a 400 square foot labyrinth that was designed by a 3-year-old that has an obsession with pointy objects. I am not a person who likes challenge. I'm more of a Rhythm Heaven Pokemon Animal Crossing kind of person. So, of course, it came as a massive surprise to the last 3 brain cells I had that I would even attempt the Path of Pain, let alone finish it. But due to some wizardry or fucking faulty wiring in my brain, I, for some reason, decided to beat Path of Pain on my first attempt. First attempt in this case does not mean doing it without taking any damage. It means I went into the Path of Pain for the first time ever, and I would not leave, eat, or sleep until I beat it. I don't know what possessed me to do this. Maybe it was because I wanted to flex on my friend who got the game months before I did and still hadn't beaten it yet, or maybe I just hate myself that much and I wanted to push myself to my absolute limit. And believe me, I did. The final recording of the entire level is nearly 5 hours long and caused a ton of problems in trying to import it into various editing softwares. It's actually chugging my program right now. Obviously I managed to figure that little problem out because this video exists. So, without further delay, I'm going to be going briefly over each section of the Path of Pain, with tips, tricks, and poetry recited about how much of my spirit was drained by Team Cherry this fateful day. The first section is about on par with the hardest parts of the White Palace, which makes sense because it's trying to prepare you for the approaching ass beating. The first and biggest lesson I learned about the Path of Pain is to treat it like a paper written in the APA format. Keep things concise, don't take too long, but also don't rush because you won't cover all the necessary ground and then your college career plummets into F territory. If you sit there too long, hugging the wall like your safety blanket, it will make you doubt yourself about your next move. This makes it more likely that you'll fail the next jump or end up killing yourself by rocketing your head into the spikes before you even try. But also, if there's a giant buzzsaw heading your way, don't try to be badass. Just wait for it to pass rather than taking the risk, and always make sure you know what's ahead of you before attempting. This section, give or take, took about 40 minutes for me to finish. This next section was weird for me. In my mind, I thought it took forever, like the minutes were dragging on into hours, but when I looked over to the recording, it had only taken me about 9 minutes. This is one of the only sections where you have a resting point that has no soul totem along with it, which is horrifying when you have a cancerous charm build like me. In all of my genius, I decided to put on Hive Blood, Deep Focus, Soul Catcher I think, and fucking Grub Song. I got through the first section feeling like I was the god of Hollow Knight because I only had to use the Soul Totem once to fill up completely in the beginning. The Deep Focus made it so that I didn't waste any more soul but recovered twice the HP. And then I got to this realization that Grub Song only works when you get hit by an enemy. Hi there, it's me in post-editing. Apparently this is not how Grub Song works. My friend notified me of that, and apparently you are supposed to get soul when you run into spikes and saws. I don't know why I didn't get it here. Maybe I'm just stupid, maybe it's a bug in the game, maybe I literally just forgot to fucking equip Grub Song even though I'm pretty sure I did. But anyways, I just wanted to make you aware of that little fact. Please don't come after me. I'm sorry, it was a mistake, thank you. Not death by spikes. A majority of this section was compromised of me sitting on my little platform waiting for Hive Blood to regenerate because I was too scared to take any risks. The advice I have for this section, pray, maybe? This next part is the section that took me the second longest amount of time to complete. The issue, I think for me at least, is that I would get into the groove of pogoing on the saws, but whenever I made a mistake, I lost that groove and proceeded to panic for the next 5 minutes until I got into the rhythm again. When I finally got up to the second part of this section, it was the first time in this run that I genuinely just felt like giving up. It's not even particularly long, it just really puts you through the ringer. Some good tips would be to limit your horizontal movement. Focus on how high or low you are before trying to scoot to the left or right while you're bouncing on those saws. If you get too high or too low, you're going to miss a nail strike and fall. As for the second part, remember that you do have a double jump and a shadow dash. These reset every time you hug a wall or pogo off of an object, so you can give yourself a little bit of breathing room instead of constantly bouncing up and down. It took about an hour and 10 minutes for me to get through this part. Now, this next bit was interesting because you really don't see a lot of vertical platforming in Hollow Knight. The biggest example I can think of is the pink bouncy mushroom rave and the fungal wastes. By the time I got to this part, my brain was already devoid of any thought because I'd been sitting at my computer for the best part of 2 hours willingly torturing myself. This section is pretty self-explanatory. Buzzsaw go burr, you go up, receive class 5 brain trauma, and you're done. In this section, patience is a virtue. There's a little area where you can charge up a crystal dash to pause and observe what's going on before you make your next move. Honestly though, I made it out of this part by sheer dumb luck. It was about 20% planning and 80% jerking off my controller until I made it to safety. And that took about 15 minutes for me to do. I feel like any part that has wing molds is unremarkable at best and boring at worst. This part has you bouncing on little bug boys and big buzzsaws and bestows upon you an overwhelming sense of anxiety that whenever you fall you're gonna somehow dodge every saw on the way down and land your happy little ass on the previous checkpoint. That's the most interesting thing I have to say about this section. While making my way through the Path of Pain, I did think that maybe Sharp Shadow would be actually useful in some parts due to its increased dash range. I'm not gonna be the one to test that out, but if you do, then huge props to you! You know, this world is filled with horrible things. Crimes, bullying, the people who call your cell phone talking about your car's extended warranty, even though you don't even have a license, let alone a car. But I gotta say, none of these things made me feel as strongly as the last section of this nightmare. I get that the Path of Pain is supposed to be hard. I get that it's a challenge to reveal some deep-cutting lore, but holy shit, what compelled the devs to put this in the game? I might sound like I'm overreacting, and maybe I am just a little, but this section took me 2 hours, almost half of what the entire rest of it took me. This section introduces spears that shoot up and down. The timing you need is so precise that it feels like if you're even a frame too early or late, you'll immediately be impaled. I felt mocked when I swung my nail down and heard the satisfying clink of contact, but then was filled with rage as the game pulled a 180 and decided to kill me anyways. Then, after the spears, the game throws more saws at you. Saws that move just uncomfortably slow enough that you're not sure if you should double jump, nail slash, or accept the sweet embrace of death and just put the controller down. But everything up to that point, the entire rest of the path, is child's play compared to this. This part. This hurt my brain. This caused a flashback to the time where I was in band. I was supposed to perform a solo for a judge, and I hadn't practiced at all. I looked at the paper, and I saw this string of notes that I had never seen before. I felt like my lungs were about to do backflips. I had so many emotions. Fear, anger, shame, the desperation to get up and run away. I locked that memory up, and I haven't thought about it until I saw this. I had no idea what to do. I sat there bouncing on those spears, just looking at the buzzsaw peek in and out mockingly. I didn't know how to go about it. I had no plan. And then I fell. I fell directly into those spikes, and I had to do the entire section all over again. This was the closest I came to giving up, to looking up a tutorial, to just turning the game off. Every time I got close to that last part, I would eat shit and die. It drained my life force, and I just wanted to give up, but I didn't. I know people before me had done it. It's possible, I knew that, so I kept on trying, and eventually, I found out what to do. I realized the solution to my problem. I was filled with a surge of energy, my 15th wind if you will, even though my thumb was starting to ache from vigorously jamming the X button, even though I was so tired of looking at the exciting color palette of monochromatic whites and grays, even though I could feel my father's disappointment in me from the next room that I'd been at this for nearly 5 hours. I kept going. And then I did it. At this point, I felt blacked out. I don't think I even realized what was going on until I noticed myself careening into the asses of two Kingsmolds, at which point I began to spam Descending Dark in what could only be described as the purest sense of terror a human could ever experience. After everything had gone and passed, I finally got to witness that cutscene. Finally, I was one of the people who can say they beat the path of pain. My vessel woke up, did a little happy dance, and I paused for a moment to consider if this was all worth it. Fuck no! No, it wasn't worth it! I'd seen the cutscene before on other videos. Doing this had absolutely no benefit to me other than flexing on my friend and hurting my mental state. I could have very well decided not to do the Path of Pain, but I did it anyways. Honestly, I'm not regretful that I did it. The sense of satisfaction you get when you clear a particularly hard part is something that's hard to outclass. After doing this, I think I realized something. This game does not love you. This game wants you dead. This game will grab you like a squeaky toy and bitch slap you into oblivion. And I think that's what makes it so fun. Hi, it's me from post-editing again. I just wanted to thank you for sitting through this, 10 minutes or so? Tolerating my garbage. I'm sorry if there are any, lack of quality in the video or audio. This is my first attempt really trying something like this. I hope to do more. I want to do more. I will do more, whether you like it or not. So if you'd like to see more, stick around.